In 16.2b, I am going to help you revise about protein structure. When I ask you to pause the video, you will pause and try to answer the question that I am asking. Then resume the video and once again look at how I am explaining the answer. So, for understanding the protein structure, it is very important in exam point of view, because the protein's function is very dependent upon the structure of the protein. Now the protein structure is studied as different levels. So what are the different levels of protein structure that you have already studied? The different levels are the primary structure, secondary structure, tertiary structure, and sometimes after a polypeptide reaches its tertiary structure, it is ready to do its function. You can call it a protein at that time, but not all times all proteins are stopping at this level of folding. There are some proteins who further undergo another level of folding, another level of protein structure, that is called the quaternary structure. So starting with primary, secondary, tertiary. So these are all levels of folding of the polypeptide chain. Then when the quaternary structure comes here, this is the level of folding where more than one polypeptide chains are interacting to form the quaternary structure. Quaternary structure. Okay. So now I am going to show you diagrams to help you recap what primary structure of protein means. So let's look at the first one here. This is basically all proteins, we all know that proteins are made up of amino acids. So first, every protein has its own specific sequence of amino acid. If that sequence changes, the protein's characteristic and folding behavior will also change. So every protein is actually initially first made up of a chain of a particular sequence of amino acids. Out of the 20 amino acids, the amino acids can repeat or form a certain sequence, and these amino acids join to each other by peptide bonds. So this is the primary level of protein structure. Then we come to the secondary protein structure. This linear chain of amino acids will then further undergo another level of folding. So two types of folding happen in secondary protein structure. Either the chain of polypeptide will start coiling, and this type of pattern of folding is called the alpha helix structure. This coiling is actually maintained or stabilized by hydrogen bonds. Where will these hydrogen bonds form? So when in a polypeptide chain, the first amino acid's carboxyl group forms a hydrogen bond with the fourth amino acid's amine group within the same polypeptide. If you watch closer, you can see that these yellow lines are hydrogen bonds between first, fourth. Then again there is a gap, and then there is again say 8 to 12. So that way, that those hydrogen bonds are weak interactions, but together they fold the polypeptide linear chain into a coil, and that is the alpha helix structure. Another type of secondary structure is beta pleated sheet. Here what happens, the same polypeptide chain, instead of coiling, it will fold into pleats. Just like you put pleats in your sari, similarly this is a pleat of the polypeptide chain. This pleating pattern is again because the same polypeptide chain will turn and fall back and form a fold, and when this chain comes as a fold, distant amino acids come closer, and that helps in forming hydrogen bonds between amino acids which are actually far away in a polypeptide chain, but they come closer. Now this pleating can happen leading to the polypeptide chain to parallelly fold or anti-parallelly fold. So you can see over here, the beta pleating can happen parallelly, or it can fold the polypeptide chain anti-parallelly. This is the second level of folding that proteins do with the help of hydrogen bond. Still the protein is not at its correct 3D shape to be able to do its function. So there is one more level of folding that it will do, and here in the primary and secondary structure, the bonds which are stabilizing them are in the polypeptide chain itself. Now comes the role of the R groups in the polypeptide chain. What will these R groups do? Let's see. So let's consider this purple color line as a polypeptide backbone, the chain, which contains the carbon, carboxyl and the amine group. Okay, and the R groups of the amino acid will project out from the main backbone. Now you have studied that R groups have different chemical nature. Some of them are water loving, some of them are water hating, some of them are ionic. Okay, so because of that, amino acids which are far away in the chain will either attract each other or repel each other after alpha helix or beta pleating. So alpha helixing and beta pleating actually bring far away amino acids closer. After they come closer and form hydrogen bond, other R groups will now come closer, and those R groups, if two R groups coming closer are both water hating, so they will team up and they will try to move towards the inside of the protein chain. Okay, those who are water loving, that means those who form ions, they will project out and face the water outside the protein. Remember, our cells are mainly made up of aqueous environment. So the water loving R groups will be projecting outwards and the water hating ones will fold and come inwards and start interacting. So here you will see this R group and this R group. They are so far away, but they have come closer and formed hydrophobic interaction. This amino acids R group is hanging out over here, and this amino acids R group is projecting and trying to form a hydrogen bond with this one. So hydrogen bonding is also occurring. So in the same polypeptide chain, after alpha helix and beta pleats, more R groups come closer and they form more new types of interactions. Okay, so they will form hydrogen bonds. Sometimes R groups will have sulfur groups, sulfide groups. So if this R group has found another neighboring amino acids R group which has a sulfide, they will form a disulfide bridge, S bond S. Okay, so a disulfide bridge. So all these are different types of weak interactions. Remember, they are not permanent bonds, but they are weak interactions. When they work together, they become very strong. Another type of interaction happens with those amino acids whose R groups also contain amine and carboxyl group. So in amine group, there will always be a positive charge, NH3+. And in the carboxyl group, this carboxyl group is the R group carboxyl group, not the main chain's carboxyl group. So this has a negative charge on it. Now it will attract any other amino acid residue in this backbone which has a positive charge, and they will come together. As a result of these interactions, the protein chain, the polypeptide chain, which was like a helix or a pleat, will now not look like a helix or a pleat. It will even become more compact. It will come closer. So this will actually give a three-dimensional shape. So initially the protein, the polypeptide was a chain, then it coiled and pleated. Now its R groups are interacting, forming these different types of bonds, and they are forming a 3D structure. For exam point of view, you need to remember the names of these bonds which are helping protein to have its tertiary structure. Now you can see that the protein has developed a 3D shape. So some proteins stop folding over here. This is their final shape. Once they reach this shape, they can start doing their function. They may become an enzyme and start working on the substrate. Or they can become an antibody which will protect you from any germ trying to enter your blood. So one such example I want to show you of a protein which just folds till tertiary level. The name of this protein is lysozyme. This is found in your tears. So lysozyme is an enzyme which protects your eye from bacterial infection. If you zoom in closer, you can see, I hope it is visible, this is the primary chain of lysozymes. So many amino acids, and the sequence is fixed. All lysozymes have this sequence of amino acid only. If the sequence changes, lysozyme's shape will get deformed. Then this primary chain folds into alpha helix. You can see it has alpha helix as well as beta pleats also. This is a pleat region. These are all helix regions. And when these beta pleats and alpha helix are forming, they are bringing other R groups closer. So this level of folding is the tertiary folding. Now it will form a ball-like structure. It's coming closer and forming a compact mass. Because of this compact structure, this lysozyme enzyme will now develop one active site where the bacterial proteins can come and bind, and the lysozyme can break down and kill the bacteria. So you can see how important these foldings are. And if the position of the amino acid changes, the hydrogen bondings over here will change, the pleating will change, the shape, overall shape of the tertiary structure will get damaged, and the protein will not be able to do its function. So each level of folding is important. This is an example of primary, secondary and tertiary level of folding in lysozyme. Okay. You can now move to the last fold, that is the quaternary fold in proteins. Let's see what quaternary structure of protein mean. So quaternary structure of protein basically means that now the polypeptide has reached its tertiary level of 3D folding. This polypeptide will now interact with other polypeptides which are in the tertiary stage, and they will form a mass of a bigger molecule. This macromolecule is actually made up of 1, 2, 3 and 4 different types of polypeptides. So here other interactions along with hydrophobic disulfide bridges, sometimes ionic bonds and prosthetic groups also are formed. Okay, so that's all with the level of primary, secondary, tertiary and quaternary structure of protein. Finally, this is the summary of what I just explained, all the 4 levels. That's all. Thank you.